Deep in the devilishly decadent district of Soho, above the luminous light of the lanes and the inebriated intonations of the imaginative industry that calls it home, lays the flat of that most flirtatious and fiery of fighters for freedom, Madhu Bandara, also known as Mimsy Burogrove, perhaps the world's only psychedelic detective. Safely sat upon the silks and satins, silently supposing and mute, she meditated on the mysteries of the mind and this mortal coil. Mimsy is a small woman, perfect and petite, charming and comely in her coffee-coloured cut-off caftan that blends with her caramel skin until it looks like all is one. Lying upon the cushion in a lotus, her limbs aligned languidly, the lissom lady of love and learning, sable shorn, had no reason to suspect the scandalous scoundrels that slipped and slid through the shadows towards her sanctuary. The Hashisheen are heralds of the hate that a hirsute rival, the Guru, now feels for our famed feminine figure. Silently, they shimmied open a shutter and slipped within, sharp shivs held in sure hands, eyes shining as they slid towards her. Their steps might have been virtually soundless, but she was aware of them, and, as they approached her, intent upon assisting her into the afterlife, her eyes opened, and the bindi that she bears upon her brow began to burn with a brilliance that blinded and baffled the brutes who came to bleed her. She floated, she saw, through their minds as though she were rooting through their pockets. She saw the hatred that they had for her, instilled in them by their mentor. She saw the promises that they had been made, the heaven that they were promised. As they hesitated, she stripped out of her body and stepped naked into their minds. Waddy was a pleasant little boy, until his father shut him in the hut, with the spiders. All night long he could not sleep, feeling the webs brushing against his face, hearing their skittering legs, imagined or not, feeling them dance across his skin. He is a grown man now, a thug, a killer, brave in the face of almost any danger, but... Waddy's mouth opened wide in a wail. Under his skin swarmed a slew of spiders, and he screamed as he slapped and stabbed at them, sprawling backwards through the sash and down to the street below with a sickening splash. So high is Osiren's shelter. Her impossible iris turned its ire upon the other interloper and infiltrated his intelligence. Haida, on the other hand, Haida just wants to be loved. In the secret gardens of the Guru he has met the dusky maidens who serve in the afterlife, and he wants to carry out his mission so that he can be returned to their embrace. He doesn't know that this heaven is a fake. He doesn't understand that no right-thinking deity would ever accept a murderer, however much they thought they were doing the right thing. Mimsy takes pity on him. She breaks apart like a kaleidoscope of curves and lips, of soft eyes and warm kisses, and she enfolds him within her. She tells him she loves him, and her one becomes many, surrounding and stroking, murmuring sweet words into his gullible ears. Haida slid to the floor with a subtle and serene smile and sighed as he stared into the stars only he could see. These two thugs were not the only transgressors, though. Their task had been to trouble her, to throw her off, to tempt and taunt and turn away. At her door, the deadliest of the dangerously deranged dealers of death delayed, determined, and he thought destined, to kill her. Luck is with Our Lady, at least. As he leaned in, a late-comer loomed large over the lowlife. Detective Inspector St. John is an imposing individual, intent upon ingress when he identified the ingrate, intent upon inflicting iniquity upon our illustrious ingenue. Maddened at the malice of this malcontent, the man made his move, laying his mitts upon the miscreant and mashing him against the marmalade-coloured mass of the door until his mandible was mincemeat and his muzzle was mushroomed across his mug. With that accomplished, the agent of the law sought access and admitted himself to the scene of anarchy and amour that had become of her accommodation. "Mimsy?" St. John nodded, wiping his hands, leaving the unconscious body of the Hashisheen assassin behind him. "Trouble?" She uncoiled from her crouch over the barely conscious cur and crossed the carpet to give him a kiss upon his cheek. "Nothing that I couldn't take care of, Christian, but thank you for your help. She smells like jasmine and jam, honey and hashish. She's warm and wonderful, but he's here for work, not women. Well, we do have trouble down at the station, a murder that seems like your sort of thing." He screwed a cigarette into his kisser and sighed as he sparked it, taking a deep and soothing suck upon the slender cylinder. "Gruesome business, but strange. If you're finished playing with religious fanatics and cults, we'd like you to take a look at it. For payment, of course." The psychedelic princess pouted prettily. It's always business these days, Christian, never anything fun. If I'm going to help you with this, you have to agree to let your hair down. She fondled his follicles, and he confessed that his fine features had been flattened by the cutting of his flowing locks, but he fell in with her feeling. Agreed. It was no hardship to hang around the happening with this hepcat. She was honest and happy and had to be humoured, at least here and now. Did you see the victim? Investigate the murder yourself? Her hand hesitated over his, and her eyes turned heavenward as he hesitated. Yes, I did. Then we don't need to go anywhere. A touch, and her 10 digits tingled at his temples. She slips into Christian's mind. They know each other. They've been lovers. It's like sliding into a warm bed next to someone you care about. For a moment he's alarmed, but she's done this before, and he tries to relax. She walks through his structured and ordered mind, bare feet slapping against the hard surfaces of laws and duties of honour and decency, leaving little footprints of chaos in her wake. She stops a moment, a glittering barrier around his thoughts, cutting her off from his memories, his fantasies. Though through the shield she can make out the shape of herself and hear words they once shared together. He's so nervous. She finds it sweet and skips on, giggling, deeper into his mind. A giggle is not appropriate here. Not in this dark corner where he buttons down the bad things he's seen, the bad things that he's done. Here the horrors and the guilt wait behind walls far stronger than those used to keep her out. But these are to keep these memories in, suppressed, hidden. Mimsy closes her eyes and steps through, and what she sees she can scarcely believe. A man stands naked in a room as the ghost of her astral body watches, a screwdriver in his hand, the body of another man before him, dead and bleeding, his skull stabbed through and bleeding. Right above and between his eyes, deep into his Ajna chakra, into the pineal gland, the gate to the higher planes and the imagination. She dissolves into a cloud of butterflies and returns to her body, opening her eyes to her friend, the inspector. A moo of disgust mars the marvellous mask as, after a moment, she opens her mouth and mumbles, "A horrible murder. But you know who did it. Why do you need me?" He shrugged his shoulders and with a shudder spoke what had been unspoken. The man we caught claims not to remember anything. The man he killed is his friend, his business partner. They have no reason to kill each other. It's motiveless, and if it wasn't for the fact that it happened, we never would have thought it would. We need you to look inside him and to tell us if he's telling the truth. She tapped her fingertip, marking time against her top lip. And as time passed, she took in a terrible something in the man's eye, in his gaze, as though perched in an eerie entity. A yellow man yelled at her, a man she had a yen to understand. Determined, she decided to dive once more into his dreams. This derangement, indicative of something deeper than the dead man at work, but the little man was gone. She realised then that St. John's radio was unwrapped and he was ranting. The radio was rushed away again rapidly, and he reached for her hand. "We really do need you." "Oh? There's been another murder. The same method, a different man, a different victim." Curiouser and curiouser.